Well, let's start with what workers' comp is. Workers' compensation was created by the government. If you go back in history, um, when the Industrial Revolution was kicking off and you had people working in these big factories and they were losing arms and legs because machinery was unguarded and wasn't safe, and the employers were getting sued for having these bad workshops. And so they said, how do we keep from getting sued for, hurting all these workers? And so they came up with this workers' compensation system. But the system is set up that so in law in Ohio, you cannot sue your employer. So that protects the employer. The theory behind that being that we will promote employers to hire people to work, which is what we want. And instead of being able to sue the employer because you were hurt on the job, you will go into this administrative process, workers' compensation, and workers' compensation will cover medical bills and oversee your claim. So you get into the whole issue is, are you an employee or are you a subcontractor? So a lot of people will work for others in a quote-unquote subcontractor role. They don't take out taxes and they pay you kind of under the table, and maybe they give you a 1099 at the end of the year as opposed to a W-2. And it varies, because in the front end, a lot of times employers want to treat you as a subcontractor. That way they're not responsible for paying taxes on you or withholding money from taxes on you and matching it for certain things. So it's cheaper for them and less paperwork. But then when you get hurt, all of a sudden they want the protection of workers' compensation. So now all of a sudden you're an employee. So what are you? An employee or a subcontractor? So that comes into play in a lot of cases. And sometimes the issue is, were you on the job or were you not on the job? You're driving from point A to point B, but you stop, on a personal errand in the middle, but it was on the way. Are you on the job at that point or are you not? You're in a company vehicle, maybe you're in your personal vehicle. All those facts start to weigh into, are you covered under workers' comp or not? And then you have in workers' compensation, you have the issues where you have people that are injured on the job, but they're injured by somebody other than their employee. So let's use a construction site. You've got all the different trades there. You've got an electrician, you've got a carpenter, you've got HVAC, you've got an architect, you've got engineering people, you've got masonry workers. And so the masonry workers out there, they're up on their scaffolding and they drop a brick off and it lands on the head of a carpenter. Okay? They work for two completely different companies. Well, the carpenter has a workers' comp claim. He's hurt on the job. But he wasn't hurt by his employer or an employee of his employer, a fellow employee. So he has an injury claim against the masonry company for the negligence of their employee for dropping a brick off the scaffolding. So sometimes you have two claims. You have workers' comp and you have a normal, what's called common law, negligence claim. If you have a significant injury, I'd say you need to get an attorney involved, okay? Because even if it's only a workers' comp claim, there's a workers' comp process that needs to be followed. And workers' comp claims can stay open for a long time. You can come back to workers' comp and say, hey, this has gotten worse. It's now requiring additional medical treatment, things that you don't have the right to in a common law case. But in workers' comp, if it's related, you can always reopen your claim and keep coming back to it. If it's a significant injury, it's worth having an attorney at the front end to evaluate that, to see what claims do you have, and make sure the workers' comp claim is being handled appropriately. And so that's, that's something we do on a daily basis, is evaluate those types of claims to see if they, have claims beyond workers' comp and get them going in the right direction.